Hey everyone, this is Friedel Courage Raven and welcome to the latest Geekiary news briefs where I quickly go over some of the stuff that happened in geek and pop culture so that you have stuff on your radar. So let's start. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the recent box office for the week October 4th to October 6th, and the biggest release was Joker, the new film. We have already done a review of it for the Geekiary. Make sure to check it out. And Joker ended up setting a new record for October releases. It was able to beat Venom's previous record, and it has also been able to enter the top 10 openings for R-rated films, with Deadpool 1 and 2 being the highest, I guess. And yeah, Joker's overall response, the audience that ended up going to see it do enjoy it, even though it got a B+ cinema score. However, the critic rating at Rotten Tomatoes is like currently at 68 or 69%, which, I mean, being a movie critic myself, I do think that the rating should have been higher because I do feel that the film was well crafted and Joaquin Phoenix did an awesome job acting wise. However, the overall story and narrative reminded me of what we've already seen in the Gotham TV series, with Joker's character being used as a symbol of anarchy and him being seen as a revolutionist, even though Joker as a character isn't an anarchist and he's just an agent of chaos. But yeah, let me know if you guys ended up watching Joker and what did you think of it. As far as TV is concerned, the new Batwoman series ended up debuting on the CW. I've already done a reaction of the premiere if you want to check that out. It wasn't my favorite Arrowverse series because my favorites are still like DC Legends of Tomorrow, but it did what it had to do. It set up the stage for Kate Kane to grow as a character, so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. And talking about TV, when it comes to The Walking Dead ended up being renewed for the 11th season, which makes no sense to me. I have no idea why people still watch The Walking Dead. But you know what, we also watch The Walking Dead, especially because we need to do that Bitching Dead webcast. If you guys haven't watched the Bitching Dead, I leave the link to that down in the comment section below. We actually hate watch The Walking Dead. It's fun. So Maggie is coming back for season 10, and it will be interesting to see what happens, because in season 10, with Maggie returning, Michonne is leaving, and yeah, let's see what happens. I'm not really sure. Fear the Walking Dead ended up losing its viewership, and I think that The Walking Dead is following suit. Due to it being New York Comic Con this past week, Jamie was there and she ended up tweeting stuff, and she will be covering, she'll be sharing her panels and interviews, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. Anyway, we had a Dawn of X panel where they basically shared what to expect with the upcoming X-Men titles, and I am really interested to see what happens to the X-Men after the final issue of Powers of 10 is released. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Storm figures into all of it, especially because she is playing a huge role in Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Panther series, where she's being seen as a goddess. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that links to what Jonathan Hickman has in store for the X-Men. So some Star Wars fans are talking on Twitter about why Rose Tico isn't showing up in the upcoming Rise of the Skywalker movie merchandise, and I was actually surprised to not see Rose in there, but maybe the producers think that Rose's reception wasn't great. It caused a lot of backlash, unnecessary backlash as it was. But maybe that's why she's not part of the merchandise, and maybe that's why her role has been limited in the upcoming movie, which, I mean, I'm not a fan of Rose Tico, especially because I thought that her and Finn's storyline in the previous movie ended up detracting from the main plot, and then she ended up kissing Finn for some reason, which I wasn't behind as a decision. But I do think that Rose is an important character, especially because of her backstory being explored in those comic books, if I'm not wrong. I haven't read them, but I do know that there are comic books centering on Rose Tico and her sister. There were also journals about them. But yeah, I do think that Rose should be part of the merchandising, at least, even in a limited sense, but she should be part of the merchandising. Like, the producers shouldn't back away from support that Rose Tico needs as a fictional character, and especially fans of Rose Tico need her to be part of the merchandise so that they can understand that no. That the fact that they like Rose Tico is valid, and yeah, Star Wars, you need to get on it. Talking about movies, with the new 007 film, I guess it has started shooting. Anyway, Rami Malek was at the late night show and he talked about where there's a scene he was rehearsing with Daniel Craig and they ended up kissing each other, and I'm like, oh no. It felt so queer-baity to me. I mean, it's a 007 movie. I don't think that they're ever going to add such a scene in a Bond film, but yeah, it just felt very queer-baity. Like, why was that such a scene in the script? Why did they do it? And even if they did it, why did Rami Malek feel the need to share it with the world? The entire thing reminded me of how in the most recent, or maybe in, I'm not really sure which film it was, but it was the one where Javier Bardem was the villain, and there was this scene where it felt like he was flirting with James Bond, and yeah, they ended up milking that scene for queer-baity purposes as well. And I'm not a fan of queer-baiting, so Rami Malek, if you have any degree of, I'm not really sure, I would say sense, but respect towards the LGBTQIA plus community, please don't queer bait when the actual promotional circuit for 007 begins. Talking about films, there's a new movie coming out and it's called The Conductor, and it's set in the 1920s, and it's about the first woman who decided to become a musical concert conductor, I would say. And yeah, the film stars a trans man and in the film, and apparently critics are very happy about how that entire trance experience was handled in the film. So if you want to check that out, I'll have the link to the details about it down in the comment section below. So Martin Scorsese, whose new film The Irishman starring Robert De Niro and other actors ended up streaming on Netflix, and or maybe it's not on Netflix yet, I'm not really sure, I haven't checked. But anyway, Martin Scorsese ended up commenting that he didn't think that Marvel comic books movies were actual cinema, and of course it ended up causing a backlash online where people were like, Martin Scorsese, what do you know? You're just jealous and you're just old, you don't know anything about cinema. And I'm like, you know what? I understand that you might feel upset about what Martin Scorsese said about Marvel comic books not being actual cinema and actually promotional material for upcoming theme parks. I understand that, but don't say that Martin Scorsese is jealous about the MCU's success, because have you seen Martin Scorsese's resume? He has nothing else to prove. Now, as far as the Marvel's movies not being cinema or comic book movies not being cinema is concerned, I do think that, I don't agree with that opinion, because I do feel that all of the hard work that goes into creating a Marvel movie, even if it's a smaller budgeted one compared to the actual Avengers films, I do think that it's still a part of cinema. It might not be the best cinema out there, but it's still cinema. It still has a story, it still has emotion, and it still has action, and it still makes the audience feel stuff. So I won't say that comic book movies aren't cinema. They might not be the most well-constructed cinema, but they're still cinema. So as far as Martin Scorsese's opinion is concerned, I don't agree with it. But other than that, I do agree with Martin Scorsese that comic book movies do appear as big budgeted advertisements for merchandising and theme parks and all of that stuff. And finally, I'm going to talk about YouTube and Shane Dawson's new documentary on Jeffree Star and the makeup world, and Shane Dawson's process of creating his own makeup line has been released on YouTube. I think he's released 2 parts as of yet, so make sure to check that out. And yeah, I'm really interested in knowing what happens behind the scenes as far as the makeup industry is concerned, and the makeup industry can be quite messy. So yeah, it's fun seeing what Shane has been sharing, especially about all of the hard work that goes into launching a makeup line, and how much money you make, how much money your distributor makes, how much money other people are going to steal from you. So that's quite interesting. The business side of thing I find is quite interesting for me. So yeah, that was that for today's Geekery News Briefs. Let me know what you guys thought of the news that I shared with you. If there's any news that you want me to know about, let me know about that down in the comment section below. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you guys later.